The city of Baltimore will pay the family of Freddie Gray, the 25-year-old man who died in police custody back in April, $6.4 million. Now, the news caught a lot of people off guard, considering that the criminal case is still ongoing and the amount supersedes the total payout for 120 cases against the police since 2011. Now, for some, the amount is reasonable if it prevents rioting after criminal trials for the police officers involved. But sadly, I suspect there will be riots whether the verdicts come in as guilty or innocent. No doubt the settlement will be used as fodder for groups like Black Lives Matter and politicians whose very policies created these powder kegs in the first place. And there's also no doubt Freddie Gray's family has suffered, but so too the families of 9 people killed and 46 wounded this past weekend in Chicago alone. So I pray that we can get the anger, the resolve, the indignation over black genocide at the hands of blacks and stop blaming the carnage on the weather or inanimate objects like the gun. Joining me now, David Clarke, Milwaukee County Sheriff. Sheriff, thanks a lot for joining the show. You've been very vocal about these very issues. Again, a lot of people on Twitter pretty upset with this as an indictment of the police officers. The trial hasn't begun yet. And by the same token, once again, we overlook complete carnage, black on black crimes over the weekend.
Well, the civil aspect of what's going on in Baltimore is where that thing belongs, not in the criminal court. But I thought it was a little early to come to that conclusion. But what happened in the city of Chicago over the weekend, that casualty report, Charles, sounded like something after some fierce fighting in Ramadi or Mosul or Fallujah, but it happened again in the American ghetto, this time in the city of Chicago. Look, President Barack Obama has been a one-man wrecking crew as it relates to safe communities. He's declared war on the police. He's dismantled effective law enforcement with this 21st century task force of emphasizing de-escalation. And he also has taken the side of the criminal with this inane idea of prison reform. He's been a criminal perpetrator's dream and a nightmare for the American police officer.
Although a lot of people point to, and I've seen this working for a long time, you do things like give felons the right to vote. All of a sudden, you create maybe 3 million instant voters overnight. So maybe there's some political angles to it. But to your point, the war on police aspect of this really scares me. I grew up in Harlem in the 1970s, a lawless community where we needed the police. And when they weren't around, things got worse.
Well, Charles, President Barack Obama has communicated in very unambiguous terms that the era of tough on crime is over. This is a guy who visited a federal prison. Next time he's in Chicago, I hope he takes the time to visit one of the precincts down there and encourage the Chicago's finest, the law enforcement officers in the city of Chicago, that things will be different. He said some things that he shouldn't have said, but I don't look for that to happen soon. He also ought to direct his attorney general to start targeting the criminals instead of the police, and see the police, local police, as allies in the pursuit of justice and not the enemy. But again, that's not something I don't think we're going to see too soon either.
I've only got 10 seconds. Black Lives Matter, you tweet out about them a lot. You've been very vocal about them. Once again, we hear nothing about them, from them, what happened in Chicago.
Again, proof positive, Exhibit A, that black lies matter more than black lives matter for this group.
All right, Sheriff Clarke, thank you very much.